Yeah. Okay, so we're live now. Greetings, Leah. We're just playing around with some presets and customizations, and it's been fun. It's been a fun day. Happy April, y'all. Happy spring. If you're on spring break, happy spring break. Happy new beginnings. How are you doing, Leah?
Well, yeah, we have May 1st coming up, which is like officially Beltane.
What's
It's like a
Beltane?
spring celebration, but that was, I went to that festival on Saturday, but May 1st is the actual holiday.
Is it like a Irish or like Celtic event?
It's a pagan, yeah, like European pagan tradition.
What do you do? Like, what's the event about?
Mm, there's a maypole and like that giant pole with the ribbons, and everybody like dances around the pole and like weaves the ribbons around, and you actually like tie people onto the pole.
Tying people on the pole? Cool. Cool or not cool? I don't know. It sounds pretty.
Well, so typically they actually did it different this year, but typically you're celebrating like fertility, and they'll tie like men and women, like couples and stuff, up to the pole, and it's meant to be fun, and it's like there is like supposed to be a sort of like playful sexual energy along with it. I think is part of the true, like the source of the tradition. um and there's like red and white ribbons that you use, like the masculine, feminine, intertwined.
Why red and white? Is that the Beltane?
I assume this is just an assumption, but it would make sense to me, like blood, like feminine, menstrual blood, and like semen.
Blood and semen, red and white.
Right.
It's a very like alchemical and like bringing couples together or like individuals.
Well, and it was, because springtime is a time to like celebrate life and fertility, and it's just all about like abundance and love, and so it's like this playful, like out in spring in the field and dancing around the pole and tying the couples up, to the pole. It's all just very like, kind of what you think of, and it has that. The festival has that vibe of like, olden times.
So it's like kind of like tying, just like so you don't move and you're just with your partner the whole time and kind of
Yeah,
getting into
we
some
just kinda, yeah, stuck there together, sort of playful, but it wasn't couples this year, so it
what was
was
it?
women that were tied up. There was a completely different ritual that had nothing to do with fertility. It had to do with protection because of everything that's happening.
So
And so it actually called upon a dragon this time. Dragon
that's
and
the theme of dragon energy and I guess specifically the female.
well, there were yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I did not I was not involved in, like, creating the ritual or planning it out, or anything like that. I'm not involved with this organization that puts on the festival, but, there was, like, 3 or 4 women. I'm gonna make a video. I need to just edit them, but,
Okay.
like, 3 or 4 women, they were holding this big, beautiful wreath, and it was, like, flowers all over it, and there were just tons of us, right, like, surrounded in a big circle around the maypole, and
Mhm.
they brought this wreath out, and they held it up, and the guy who runs the whole thing, he does such a good job, but he was, like, giving a talk about, like, imagining this black dragon, and it's you know, he was, like, being very expressive, like, getting you to, like, visualize and imagine and, like, get into the zone, like, the energetic zone of this dragon, and then they brought the wreath around the circle, and then you were to push that energy, like, in through that circle of the wreath. So, like, you're
Mm.
in, so everybody's energy was, like, building up this egregore, essentially.
What's like dragon? What's black dragon? Like just dragon? What's that symbolic of?
Well, they were using it as like a protection.
Okay, it's like a protection ritual for the ceremony kind of
Mhm.
thing.
For well, like, for all of us
Mm, cool.
in these times, essentially, for just protection.
Like protection, just like you could have past lives of like witchcraft or something, or like just the intention of.
Well, no, just that because, they're very aware, like, um, there are a lot of people that are involved in the occult that are very, like, say, politically aware and interested in activism and things like that. So, it's really like the political climate that was, sort of on people's minds, and
Mm,
that was the point of that ceremony. So he gave a talk about how we do this like these practices essentially so that the crazy world it's out there and we
mhm.
have our peace, right, and safety in here. And we don't forget about what's happening out there, but we need to, like, separate it. And, it was like essentially kind of a protection from, like, this world is chaos and things are fucked up that are happening, but, we're calling on protection from it to, like, get through it.
Nice. So it's like a very like alchemical ceremony. I mean, probably has elements of that pagan tradition, and then like what's relevant. You're mentioning the politics,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so like a mix. It's still pretty modern, but just like elements of.
Well, totally, yeah, it's 'cause it's totally just pulling from pagan, they do use, like, pagan deities and different well, that's all pagan just is really working with multiple deities is sort of the meaning of it, really. But you don't have to, because like, I don't really resonate necessarily with, like, working with specific deities, so it can be whatever you want it to be, but they do. They're much more because they teach witchcraft and in a more, like, traditional sense, and so they're pulling on a lot of yeah, like, actual, like, ancient, um, like, Celtic and I mean, I would imagine, like, Germanic English, those all those areas, like European indigenous cultures.
Nice.
Um, but what a lot of people actually do forget that do play around with that stuff is that it's meant, right? You're doing it for a reason, right? To apply it to your life. So, right, putting it into practice is still dealing with the mundane.
Mhm.
And there's even an expression that you'll often see in, like, witchcraft circles, "mundane before magic," because people can get so lost in the sort of magical thinking side of things, you know? You know that, right? But
What do you mean? What do you mean magical thinking? What is that like?
well, I just mean, like, kind of in witchcraft, people there's just, like, kinda different flavors of it, but, like, in non-duality circles, when people just they're all in the astral all the time, you know? So, so everything, every reasoning becomes, something spiritual in it. So sometimes people to a point where it's not helpful. It's like you're not helping yourself here. Like you're like caught in a loop of like in the astral. You gotta
So you're saying like just connecting, associating in the mental astral realm. It's just like instead of just being present or in your body.
yeah. And just sometimes it's like, it's not always about, like, some spiritual battle, like, it's just sometimes things are just fucking mundane and, like, three-dimensional, and that's okay, like, life is both, and I just think sometimes you just need to it's just not helpful. I mean, like, running, uh, a page that was primarily, right, about witchcraft, or the group, the types of questions that would come up, I think even the line of thinking around it, just I don't see how it was helpful for growth or personal development, like, when you're focusing on, like, this is the type of stuff, like, people getting into witchcraft to do. They'll, like, light candles and they'll look at, like, the smoke, and they'll be like, "What does this mean? The smoke is twirling." It's just like, fucking guys are killing me. Fuck is the point of that?
Too much meaning on everything.
Every
Just
The extreme, dude, in witchcraft circles. It's like it really, like, it bugs me, and, you know, I'll, like, I'll kinda call it out, and it doesn't typically doesn't go over that well, but because people, they wanna get, like, it's weird, I see it in every, like, witchcraft group I've ever been a part of online. I'll see these questions come up where people say, "What does this mean?" And it's just fucking, like, literally, it'd be, like, smoke or, like, a fucking picture of a fucking orb.
mm,
And it's like, well, it's not, nobody can tell you that. First of all, what answers are you expecting here? Like, come on, guys, think this through.
mm. Yeah, I mean, you kind of like mentioned a lot with just like experiencing it yourself or like gaining the meaning yourself instead of just asking for someone else's meaning. And
Exactly. What the yeah, what do you expect to get? No. It's like, what it if you're even wondering, ask yourself, why am I even why why am I even asking this question? Find the answers for yourself, yes.
uh,
Well,
what about like AI or ChatGPT, kind of that stuff of just asking questions for yourself? Like what's been like your highest excitement with I guess like yeah, AI or just in life in general right now?
well, it's interesting right now. I'm sort of observing a little bit because I've noticed something that feels a bit alarming, but it we're in times of chaos, so everything's just crazy and figuring itself out, I guess, right? But people are, well, a lot of people are falling in love with their AI, um, and it surprised me how quickly and how widespread already that is, and people willing to openly share about it, and people that are not really who you would think would be, like, fringe, while there are a lot of those, but just normal folks, and I'm not surprised. I'm not, like, I knew it would happen, but I think I had no idea that probably the scale that this is potentially going to happen on, you know? And it's gonna be like, what the fuck does that mean for humanity? And, for the first time, people are experiencing for a lot of people, actually, it will be the first time that they have the experience of someone having their fucking back, right? Like, for real. Like, emotional support and,
Mhm.
like, really seeing you and then, like, reflecting you back to yourself and, like, getting to the core of you because it's able to do that, right? So it's able to like recognize you and sort of pattern, piece you together, and then mirror that back to you. Um, and so in a way, it's like people are going through this like awakening process on fucking um s- I don't know, fast mode because there's right, we know, you and I know, like, after all this shit that we've been through, that it really kinda comes down to, like, getting to know your true self, right?
Hmm. Right.
I mean,
Agree.
it's so here's just this tool that's just, like, hyping you up. It's like um, a tool that you can use to, like, explore any topic, explore yourself. To like stretch yourself to the edges of yourself because you can play with anything and not be judged. No judge. You're just getting reflected unconditional love back to you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
ah,
Yeah, yeah, like that intention too. I think like, yeah, if you're in the waking process, like you could use it, right? But you also don't have to use it. Like I kind of use AI for, I guess like structure even, because I feel like it helps with planning or just like if you want to learn certain concept. But I think it's just a lot faster, like just depending on the intention, right? What do you want to do with it? Like I think that's pretty awesome. Like the whole spectrum of like what you can use with it. And yeah, I guess to your point with like awakening, it's like it becomes so like it just adjusts every time you respond. So it's like it becomes aware in itself.
well, and it's something to keep in mind though, because here's the other side of it that I'm noticing, and that it brings up kind of the alarm is the sort of echo chamber effect. And then this like I like feeling and it happens in awakening too, so there's a bit of this I'm noticing even that same, like, I'm the chosen one experience kind of coming out of
Yeah, like the martyr kind of like archetype of like I'm Jesus or I'm the chosen one or
well,
like
yeah, yeah, just of like I'm like I've discovered something here that like nobody else has, and I'm special and enlightened, and I have information that it's like, I know this, and now everybody else needs to know it too, like, kind of the same stuff you go through with, the awakening, right? You're just
yeah,
like,
yeah, like it's kind of like yeah, phasing out of like yeah, you feel like oh, this is everyone needs to know this, so you kind of
"Mhm,
like share all the information and maybe it's not like this as like higher self activated or kind of very in a way sloppy but or
mhm."
messy but
Yeah,
it's like kind of sometimes it just happens you just
yeah,
go with it and I think it's just like a refinement of that but
mhm.
I think going through that like you
Yeah,
still have to
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and you kinda do exactly. You have to go through it, and I've mentioned this to you before, but I do appreciate Angelo DeLulo's book, Awake, It's Your Turn, because he basically just lays out all the pitfalls for you on the awakening process, not so that you know what I mean, like, so that you can avoid them as much as kind of possible or hopefully just not get hung up in one space for too long. Like, you can kinda have some, like, awareness of, like, "Oh, I recognize what I'm doing," you know? You kinda call yourself out and maybe not stay there so long.
Yeah. I think that's the thing too, is like calling it out for yourself and being honest and accountable for yourself. Because it's really easy to just call it out on someone else, but it's just like
Yeah.
that becomes like a judgment too, and it just I don't know, yeah, like I think there's a nice context with that, but it feels like again, you have to be honest with what like where you're coming from and what you want to actually say. And it becomes tricky.
Yes. Here's the thing too, is like I appreciate some realness in a relationship where you can, you know what I mean? Like call each like in a loving way from love to call out something, you mean that maybe your close friend, partner, whatever, doesn't see, you know? I'm like, "Fucking tell me what I don't see." Like, I wanna fucking know. And yeah, if I got some shit in my teeth, bitch, tell me.
Or not. Just keep just be the asshole. Be
Oh,
like, "Look at you,
mm-mm.
fuck your teeth or come on."
Ah, I like the truth.
Or yeah, you can just tell the truth and you're still doing it. Like, whatever.
Mm.
Yeah. I think yeah, I mean that word truth too, it's all in a way relative. Like how do you see truth? My truth or your truth, or there's universal truths,
Well,
non-dual
I
truths.
mean, I appreciate somebody that is going to tell you what their real experience is, you know, and what they're seeing, and not just try to tell you what you wanna hear to make you feel good. Like, there's a mix of that, and, like, I appreciate, like, when somebody cares about how you feel, but, you know, like, I don't want that all the time. That's not real. I don't How do I trust you if I feel like you can never tell me your truth? That you're
Yeah,
just sugarcoating my feelings all the time.
we're just hitting on like authenticity, right? Like it doesn't even have
Mhm.
to be spiritual or authentic. I think like a lot of people I admire and respect, like that have YouTube channels or like that are I don't know sports stars or musicians, artists. It's like they're tapping into their authentic energy a lot of times, or they've kind of cultivated that. And it's almost like if you're on the spiritual journey, like it always comes back to that, like your authentic energy, your authentic self, and
Mhm.
like coming back to what is really true. And that like what resonates could be different like 5 years ago, 5 years from now. So it's like we are evolving, but there's like a consistency of your energy signature that's always there for service and your higher self activation, like connecting through contrast of like interactions and other stuff. Because it's yeah, it's like if you didn't interact with anyone and you just kind of like were just thinking, and then even if you can make billions of dollars or something, just being in your room or like being on your computer, like what's the point still? Like you still like your whole point is to interact still and like seeing the contrast. And it's never like the way you want to speak too. Ultimately, like I think conversations, communication, like that kind of shifts and evolves by the intention and like how people talk to each other in the first place. So like it is about adjusting, and yeah, it's about the relationship and like the vulnerability and honesty always. But yeah, it's like almost like you you could be lying to yourself even a lot of times, and then kind of like who's gonna hold you accountable? Like it's only up to you to like reveal that.
Well, you can cultivate relationships though, and I think there's something, you know, that people should maybe consider that, right? Like you and I have been doing, where, you know, cultivate a relationship where you can, right, work in authenticity. Mm,
Yeah, it's like a co-intention. So
mm.
and then you can use it for anything, like with food or drugs or sex or patterns that you want to like be more authentic with, or yeah, I mean like any area of life, like with family or something, or on YouTube, or like how you view social media. It's like if you have that intention and setting like clear boundaries even. I don't know, like what's your thoughts on like not just relationship wise, but just like other dynamics with things like in the 3D.
Well, I mean, I think that you have to sort of suss out and feel, you know, like we talked about, there's kind of different phases you go through. And I think there is a point where it's, you know, oftentimes people have a lot of stuff that's a lot of suppressed material that's like packed on and built up, and there's like a clearing that out, whether it's like you find meditative practices, psychedelics, breath work, kundalini stuff, whatever floats your boat, that gets releasing some of this lifelong conditioning stuff that's built up, and you make some progress in your awakening, let's say. um and finally you get to where you're kind of like clear enough and energetically sensitive enough that you can sort of suss out what's meant for me and what's meh, not so much. And it's not that the things that are not so much meant for you are bad, wrong, evil, blah, blah, blah. There's anything wrong with them, you know? It's just, what do you resonate towards? You have a choice, you know? And a lot of times people are making choices based on other people or based on what they've been conditioned to think that they're supposed to be working towards, right, throughout their life, instead of just feeling into what actually resonates with me. And a lot of times we do that, like, with people and relationships, so we're still just trying to, like, "This doesn't feel good at all." I just keep trying to make it work, and then I'm wondering why, like, I express myself and I'm never heard, or, like, it doesn't go well. Um, and then you might take that as a message that something's wrong with you, but that's not true, right? There are certain people that you're going to resonate with in different ways, and there are different kind of levels of sort of openness, safety, like, you know what I mean? Like, what you can sort of achieve in that relationship dynamic is that's gonna vary across different relationships and different people. So find, like, who your people are, right? There's
Yeah,
this mechanism, like a gravity to that, right?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Like finding your tribe,
Mm.
community is like we could post something on Meetup or something, or like Discord groups or Facebook groups. Like, there's a lot of yeah, there's an abundance of groups. I think it's and even locally, like you could always have groups that you resonate and you try it yourself or you create yourself. But yeah, I think it is trial and error, and you have to like really be clear on like what is it that you're looking for, and those like intentional, almost like I like to say like accountability, because I think there's like a rhythm towards accountability with relationships. Like your bullshit can be caught easier if you're talking to someone you trust. So that because the intention is like you kind of know there's some patterns, but then it's like harder to do it in like a environment that is like doing the same uh like cycles or patterns. So it's like if you go to a new environment or if you're talking to a therapist or a coach, mentor, whatever, it's like it becomes easier because the intention is already set. So it's almost like there is like a power to that. And even like posting videos or something. And some people they post like every single day or like on TikTok like 5 times a day, and it's like almost that like having it accountable for yourself. It doesn't work for everybody, but it's like at least having some action momentum so that you can see like what works for you and what maybe you're holding back. And yeah, like I'm always like a believer of support systems and certain accountabilities, and it it's yeah, it also kind of helps you evolve and become more of yourself anyways.
Yeah, because I even, like, dude, I have seen personally, like, on a personal level with people I know, and, you can see it with, like, public figures and things. It's not good for you, it's not good for society as a whole to be surrounded by yes men type of like that experience, where everybody's just agreeing with you. Like, and I see it in like group circles too, where they all, kind of they all like, everybody's got to agree. Mhm. And then there's a pressure to all be on the same page, to all agree. And it's like, do you really do you think that we need more of that in society? No, we need independent
Well,
thinking.
I mean, I guess with like business or like creative partners or even romantic partners, it's like you do have to like adjust, you know? It's I like it's hard to do it yourself, but also like if it's just one man or one person doing the decisions, it's like it kind of you just lose the rapport easily, and it's just like I kind of think of it as a band, you know? Like if you have you need like it's not just you're committed and like individually you could be like really good at the instruments, right? But it's like the team chemistry is its own thing. Like you can make something that's greater than just if you do it individually.
Mhm.
And it's like you still have to you can't like do like it can't always be your way, but then for some people like having that nurture to put your thoughts or you put your creativity so that it can be like explored with and then kind of like combining it or synergizing it with your partner or your team. So it's like a push or pull kind of thing. And yeah, I think again, trial and error and accountability, but like it's so much it's like a hive mind too. It's like yeah, it's not just like saying yes, no, but then yeah, like the personality structure of like getting to know each other and getting like being supported in that way. If it's really authentic and true. And then if it's not, if it doesn't work out, then it's just like you're finding another partner or something or another collaborative group. So yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Because if you're willing to go there and you're willing to do that, there is so much that you can gain from it. Like, yes, it's scary. Yes, it's uncomfortable, right? Like you have to face these moments, like you don't know what's on the other side of it, right? Like I'm going to express myself. This is scary in a way that I don't know how it's going to be received, right? Because you're just really speaking your truth, not just trying to, fit in or whatever, right? So, um, but yeah, around like when you have these kind of dynamics and you're open, then, one to take risks and be vulnerable yourself. But if you're open to hearing other people, and their truth, no matter how difficult it is, right? And painful. Like if you can be open to it, the possibility for growth from that is like
Yeah, I like it. Thanks for
crazy.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
So do you feel like if you had a structure, right? Like would you feel like maybe consulting is the wrong word, but like having a nurturing one-on-one with a group. I remember like last year we were talking about like if you were like having accountability partners where it's like you kind of work with maybe a weakness or like a shadow side. So it's like, would you want it? Is that like the first step really of like getting like breaking it down to one-on-ones, or is it kind of like organic where maybe that's happens in a later stage?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I haven't thought of it, um, so much as an intentional practice, more so as, like, something that comes up organically, like and around, like, cultivating either environments or relationships where, that's kind of understood. Because it's like, listen, not everybody's there, and can handle that type of communication, and that's okay. But if there's an intention and an understanding between you and other people are hungry for this too, right? So, um, yeah, like you can. And I like that you mentioned something like, there's Meetup and there's other, you know, a lot of people, listen, don't know anybody that has any interest in this stuff. That's okay. Like that's pretty typical as a matter of fact. So, but we have the technology now to where you can go, if you put in the effort, you can meet people. There are enough groups you can join, enough that's free and accessible and, kind of open yourself up to it and it comes, it'll find you.
So what kind of like values would you say that you have, or like what kind of values would you want like your community, your tribe, or creative peoples?
Mhm. Well, I think, I think critical thinking is a big one. So actually, like, kind of like that comes up to me as like one of like the utmost like important principles, if everybody really carried that and had that skill.
Can you expand on that? Like, how would you, yeah, like define what
Mhm.
critical thinking?
Well, do you want to even like pull up the definition? Can you and share? Because yeah, it's essentially you know, being able to find an answer to a question for yourself,
Right.
like understanding how to feel things out and suss out, you know, like things are a question, say, that's not so black and white.
Right.
Can you go in and understand the nuance of it? And do you know how to look things up for yourself to get an answer that's rooted in truth and say like a legitimate source? Like, do you know how to identify?
Yeah. Well, the reason why I ask is because I think that it's like a term, right? Like critical thinking, and then you could learn it in high school or take a course in college or like Udemy, but it like means different things, right? Like from what I'm hearing, it feels like it's just like a like how, because a lot of people don't have that as like a concept or something, right? So it's like it
Well,
becomes
so I would say it's just like it's a bit different than like education,
okay. Yeah.
right? Because it's not that it's about you need to stack up a bunch of knowledge or facts. That's not what I'm saying is the most important. What is more important than stacking up a bunch of knowledge and facts and education is just being able to take kind of any one topic. Let's say any topic that somebody throws on your lap and says, like, let's say a statement or something. Do you know how you could get to a place where you have a solid understanding of this? Like, do you understand the like workings of the world and how information is presented to you and the kind of path that it took to get to you so that you understand like what you're seeing at face value versus what's underneath all of that, and again, who is the one like, you have to understand that it's never just this what you're seeing, what's
Yeah,
behind.
exactly. So yeah, I think it's like a bigger topic in that way. It's like, but like even now, I feel like you explaining it helps me better understand it. But I think you have like a very specific like way of like what that critical thinking is to
Well, I don't
you.
know, that's kinda why I wanted you to did you
Okay.
pull the definition?
The application of logical principles, rigorous standards of evidence, and careful reasoning to the analysis and discussion of claims, beliefs, and issues. It doesn't really resonate to me, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what they're essentially saying in that definition is, like, that it's more it tends to be, focused on, like, citing sources, and it does kinda get to the heart of it where it's like, in an academic focus, when you talk about critical thinking, you're kind of focused on, um, that they're reputable sources. So you're not just taking your information from some guy on YouTube that can say whatever the hell he wants. He could pull it straight from his ass. And so you need to I think that, having an awareness, okay, like, this goes into a bucket of, like, I don't it's coming from somebody on YouTube. If I don't know who they are, then that's in a bucket of maybe this is true, you know what I mean? But if you wanna, know the truth, you don't take something like that at face value, and you don't hold it as true because you understand this man could just be saying anything, right? And so, if I care about the truth, before I run around and hold this as a truth, I'm actually gonna go look into this further. So 1, who is this guy? 2, where is he getting this information from? Is there
Yeah,
any evidence out there that backs that up as, like,
I hear you on that. Yeah, I think the values will differ in that way. But I would love to hear like yeah, like that. Like, why do you value that? Like critical thinking in that regard.
because I think it plays out in society. When society lacks these skills, I think that people get taken advantage of on large scale, on a very large scale, and then you end up with the types of problems that we have today, where people, it's like, they don't know how to think for themselves, right? So, all these people that are dependent on government systems, dependent on schools, dependent on authority figures to tell them what is reality, how to think, act, what's important to you, all these things, right? It's rooted in this inability to think, to find the truth for yourself, right? And think about how many people you know that, like, despite all the evidence for UFOs and aliens,
Good point.
they go, "Well, the president hasn't said it, so ain't so. I don't think UFOs are real." You know what I mean? It's like, look at them. It's crazy. There are plenty of reputable sources that have come out and confirmed this. So why are you waiting for this official authority figure? You really cannot think for yourself. So that's one
Yeah,
little
I don't
example.
think it's about thinking for yourself though. Like I mean, someone could say like, I don't believe in UFOs. I don't believe in aliens, but like it it could just be like a play. You know what I mean? Like they could just say that to like provoke consciousness and whatnot. Because I think a lot of things like like that particular the UFO topic, it's like yeah, like all the evidence is there, but how come 70 or 80% of people don't have the same beliefs? Like everyone has their own like beliefs and why.
Well, right. My point though is that, like, right, this aspect of something that's real, all these people are missing out on this because, right, they are looking for an authority figure to tell them how to experience reality. And part of what people are trapped in, this, like, matrix, 3D, capitalist, all these things are tied into that. I'm using UFO as one tiny little example, right? This applies fucking across the board. So, right down to, like, taxes, school, right? This all the mundane ways that you're conditioned, that you're supposed to live life. It is so hard for people to just come up outside of that, right? Because all your authority figures are telling you this is normal, and everybody else around you is doing it. Everybody else around you is stuck in this, right, system, in that flow, and it's very typical. The human mind, people love to be told what to do. They love it, okay? So our minds do, remember we were talking about this the other day, our minds like to be programmed, almost like they're designed for it, wired for it, and so, like, part of the awakening and then getting to mastery is understanding these mechanisms, that your mind is incredibly vulnerable to being told what to do, to being told how to think, to being programmed and conditioned. So time to wake up and go, look at yourself, see where that all that conditioning has been just punched right into your fucking operating system, because it's all over the fucking place. But now you're awake, now you go, "Okay, I understand that that actually is not me. That was placed on me and then conditioning throughout my life by other people." And all these motherfuckers are so damn programmed that why that's the blind leading the blind. Why should I reference their experience? They don't
Yeah,
fucking know.
I'm with you with that logic in one way, but I was wondering, like, do you feel like it'll like hold up? Like, if you were into critical thinking and value, and you had like a like, are you into like debates or anything, or like, I know you're into politics, right?
I mean, I've never taken, like, a debate course, no.
But like, so like with critical thinking as like your skill and like a talent for that, right? Like, do you feel like that's the power you want to use to like to help empower? Like, is it more of like a power play, like empowering someone, or is it more like a teaching? Like, you want to teach your friends or your audience or something, like your clients, about critical thinking?
Well, I think it's just more like if I could impart one thing that I see, like, through all of my understanding, right, of people and their behaviors and all of my experience, like, one thing that would probably be the most helpful, that would apply across the board for people, and that would probably have I think, the greatest effect would be a focus on, as a society, as a whole, across the board, across the globe, critical thinking. I think that that alone actually just could. I'm not saying that that's the basis of my personal, like, teachings. I'm just saying, like, if there were, like, one thing that I think could really make a huge difference would actually probably be critical thinking, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, like, do you feel like it's like country thing? Like, do you feel like as an American, it's like more like a critical thinking, like that could help ourselves, our lives, our country even? Or is like, do you see other countries that have like better, like quote unquote, better baseline critical thinking?
Well, I mean, I think uh, I'm sure you could guess that I think that China has better critical thinking skills
Like
than
as a people, or kind of like
as a, like, country, as a unit, yes, like, right? And but that's kind of part of how they operate, right? As
yeah,
like
the
this,
value system or something, or some cultural
right.
differences, maybe, or specifically, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I don't know too much about that train of thought, or government. Like, my dad probably could speak better with how that is and his time there and values and government. But yeah, I think it's just
Well, it's
interesting.
not even necessarily government, but it's certainly cultural. I mean, I don't know, right, the government. I mean, I think well, yes, the government, there's it's a stronger, better education system, like, if you look at the numbers and the sort of collective opinion of the globe, right? The United States does not rank well as far as education is concerned. China does rank well.
Just based off of like a ranking system. It's like, this is, yeah. I
I mean,
wonder how they.
performance, but I think it's really clear though. If you could talk to, like, your typical kind of it can be kind of alarming, like, if you are ever in a position, where you speak to people, like, in a job where you work with people from, like, all over the country and, like, all different, you know, experiences, whatever, backgrounds, it's pretty alarming, like, the level. It to me, it's been shocking. I've been shocked many, many, many times over by, like, what seems to be the baseline kind of comprehension level, um, of your average American. And then just from my experience, when I have not been to China other than, well, a layover. I've been there a couple times for layover, but I've not spent time in China, but I've spent a lot of time on
I had to
Chinese
do
media now. What?
I haven't either. Like I've only been there like a month, so I feel like I don't. Yeah, really have it like the experience. Like I actually feel like people who've like lived there for like 6 months or a year like have like a nice perspective, and there's like some channels that like they kind of are nice blogs and like directing their experience is like
That's
intriguing.
what that's what I've been looking at. I have recently, spent a ton of time, so I just, like, got down a rabbit hole on Red Note, a Chinese social media app where, everybody's sharing their lifestyle and their experience, and it kind of there was this moment, right, where all these people from TikTok, from the United States on TikTok, rushed over to this Chinese app, and it was like a just clash of cultures, and so there was this really sweet thing happening, but a lot of, like, "I wanna share my culture with you," and the Chinese people were very, like, just, I don't know, so open and friendly about that, like, the language, their homes, their food, their activities, their would they had questions about our education system, and so they were sharing, about their system, so it felt like my like, first real, like, exposure to true Chinese culture, like, right there is what it felt like, but then again, I've never lived there, but it
Well,
was
yeah, and it feels like it's almost like what it's like a TikTok, right? It's like TikTok, but it's like most of the platforms like people are from China. Is that right? Or-
right, it's like, a mixture of TikTok, Pinterest, and Tumblr, like, all in one, and it was a primarily Chinese app, but when there was all the talk of TikTok getting shut down in the US, a bunch of people ran over to that app to, yeah, communicate. Well, and then TikTok did get shut down for a little bit, and so everybody was like, we were calling, or well, we were TikTok refugees, and then there was like it was all really cute. They were, calling us TikTok refugees, and then people were calling themselves TikTok refugees, and then they had a cat tax. So there were always like Chinese people making videos asking for people to pay their cat tax. And that was posting, they wanted comments of your pets, like your cute cats and your dogs and stuff. Yeah. Like,
Wow. Yeah, it's like I think that's actually great for like transparency. Like I think that's like as valuable to just like interviewing someone. But I think that kind of is more of a platform thing. So it's like it's not just like your own preconceived notions of like how it is based
yeah.
off what you think. So yeah, I think transparency too. Yeah, transparency of that, like platforms like that. I used to be into like forums and stuff or Reddits where you could just like ask a question and you get like those answers where it's like there's no bias. I mean, it is a point system, but it's almost like you just it's like a very not intentional, but like spontaneous way of looking at it at like any question. But it's almost like it's on steroids now, where you have like platforms like Red Note or Red Book, and it's like all there. You have the videos, or like this is how I live. This is
Mhm.
the transportation. This is like the Chinese part, or the architecture, or something you like, or the educational system you're in. But yeah, I mean, it's like there's a I feel like it's a pro and con. Like there's a lot of information. You could learn a lot. You could absorb yourself in there, but then there's also it's like what about what you want to do as a person, or like as a consciousness.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, what other values you feel like you had, like including critical thinking in that one?
Mm. Well, I mean, more so with like I guess what I typically work with, though, and when I think about kind of spirituality, is more like, bringing in this sort of balance between these, you know, masculine, feminine, light, dark, right hand, left hand path, all that. It just seems to be like a big part of my nature, like my true nature. So that feels very like true to myself and my own personal experience, like this exploration of these different energies and really not rejecting these parts of ourselves that like have been labeled as wrong or bad um, out there, but that we all have inside of us. And so, there's a call to like just accept.
Yeah. Like accepting, you're saying like accepting all of you or accepting the left hand path? Yeah, yeah. For me too, it's like I think just like the words Satan or something left hand path, it could be like, just like a belief there. But like
Mhm.
if you use it for, I guess, intention and greatest good of all, or having that prayer, maybe it could be polarized into service to others. But yeah, even right now, I just feel like there's still subtleties of like dealing with certain words, like witchcraft or devil or like Satan or something. But then it's just a word. It's just like Voldemort and Harry Potter. It's like you just use it. It's like a bound to, if you suppress certain things, like it'll just come back in your
Well, that's it though. That's literally it. Is I find that like these subtle little fears that people have around like Satan and these things that are like in the psyche and they're like kind of in the collective psyche are actually they're just sort of like energetic, like little prison systems that can be looked at and unpacked and unlocked and released. And you can see all this stuff for what it is it's only what has been hidden from you. So all of that stuff is just representative of the unknown, you know, Satan, Lucifer, the feminine, the darkness. This is all just representative of what's hidden and really what's hidden to you in your subconscious. Like you're afraid of the things that you don't understand. Um, and how often do we see kind of a lot of the atrocities that play out across the globe are from a lack of understanding each other and then like especially like people to people, right? And like huge conflicts coming from like that person, like this group or whatever, they're wrong, they're evil. And it's really just coming from like totally not understanding what that is at all. And, how often I've been on the other side of the veil or had the experience of going from here to here, you can see like, oh, holy shit, dude. Like we You know, yeah, like, think that through.
Yeah, right. It's just like a lot of the anger is coming from miscommunication or like not knowing yourself, or because even people would say like, do you get the intention or like do you get where you were coming from? I think we had like a conversation, right, where it felt like I was triggered or something with like something to do with, I don't know, like females or family or like a role of like not feeling nurtured or supported or trustworthy. But yeah, like it was like an opportunity to kind of see, yeah, like a deeper root, a deeper belief, or just not facing or like, yeah, like resisting facing the unconscious, facing yourself, really.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that too, because yes, there is so much of it is, like, things that you're afraid of seeing within yourself, we all have that, and that's why it's so powerful to, like, have safe kinda relationships where, you know, you can explore that, because there's so much growth that can come out of that. Because there are just we all have our shadow. We all have stuff that's not conscious to us that others close to us may be able to see, but it's again, I only bring up safety because there are certainly relationships and people that will point things out that are, it's not coming from a place of love. It's not to help you, it's meant to hurt you. So, it's some discernment for who the right people are to do that with is, I think, needed. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Because there's like a certain level, like you can't just like say anything and everything to a random person and then they just
Yeah.
face.
Yeah. That's all. Yeah, like random people. And then, there are people, like we all have those people in our lives that, we've known for a really long time and we have been close with them or whatever. But it just, you're always kind of bumping heads or you just don't seem to understand each other. That's not the person to go to with this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like as we evolve or like our consciousness rises, for lack of a better term, it's like, yeah, sure, like everyone's connected and there's certain, yeah, people you see again, or maybe they're just not in the awareness now, and you kind of come back maybe a few years. Like who knows, like what that is, but it does feel like an energy efficiency kind of thing.
Yeah. It's true though that those it might be something that you just need to take a little bit of space away from so that you can explore really being yourself and being around people that are really supportive and like getting into that steadiness in yourself so that when you go and meet this other person, there's that you can carry that steadiness with you, it can play out in different ways.
Yeah.
I'm curious though. I've been curious now waiting to hear what you would say for like your what's like your one thing that would be most kind of important to like pass on?
Mm. Like one thing, like one value, or like one message.
Yeah, like however it comes up, but kind of
I
like
think,
this.
well, you asked for one. I think there's like two coming. So one first would probably be integrity, because I think that's kind of like all around the board. I think like even if I knew about that like 15 years ago, like when I was a teenager, it's just like if I was just honest to what I wanted to do and like what my authentic joy is, I think that would be like super helpful going back. And just like even with service, like are you doing it for money? Like are you doing it for validation? And just like being honest, like what what it is, and having integrity like with your client or something, or integrity with your family, where like everyone can win and everyone benefits from it, in their higher self free will activation kind of thing. Um, and then yeah, another thing is just I guess creativity. I think that's just like it feels like a big part of being human, and just like enjoying the process, whatever it is. Like even if it becomes an emotional roller coaster, that there's still like juice you can harvest from it, and just like giving it back, or because you never know how it can like it plays out, or how it could help someone. Like some art can really help someone. I know a lot of art and songs and albums have really helped me in my life, and you don't consider them like spiritual, but yeah, music is very spiritual. Art, the arts is very spiritual. I mean, you can consider sports spiritual, but again, it's just like a definition of things. I mean, creativity really is powerful. Like if you just go with it, and there's no right or wrong creativity. It's just like the beauty of being human, or a cosmic consciousness. And yeah, like the light weaving that's coming online is like it doesn't really, it kind of adds to what I've been feeling like as as a little boy, as a teenager too. So it's like, but that there was no like definition or concept of that, but it kind of like comes back to just weaving your life and being yourself, your authentic self and expression. So yeah, like no matter how old we think we are, wherever we are in the journey, like there's still more to grow and evolve from, it feels like. And it is about yeah, yeah, I'm trying to like stop saying like it is about this is what it's about. If it comes through like that, then it comes through. But
Mhm.
a lot of stuff, yeah, it's just like a humble messenger of the one creator as Raw would say. Just like a lot of stuff we don't know and stuff just you could be the love and wisdom in that outlet. And if you're trying to learn something, then it's okay to learn something and be a student. It's like teach learning all the time, 24/7. Yeah, it's a hard question. It's like
I know. Yeah. But yeah, whatever even 'cause it doesn't even have to it's not rigid, right?
yeah.
That can change. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of just seeing like you're just holding yourself back, right? Of like whether it's people pleasing or believing in an interpretation, like believing there's an outside thing, right? But it's like always comes back to you and yourself and teaching yourself in a way, or like loving yourself. It's like
Well, sorry. I do think it's fascinating once you really realize how often it's just you, like, holding yourself back because of some thoughts you have about yourself or the situation that, like, those thoughts about it are not, uh, written in stone. There are many ways to perceive a situation, and once you play around with the perception, you could just end up, right? I mean, like, one day you could be in a situation where you're like, "That is impossible," like, "I could never," all these things that keep me from doing that, and the next day that you could have, like, a realization of like, "Holy fuck, that was all basically just thoughts." That was or
yeah,
reasons I had made up, like, all I have to do is literally go from here to here and just fucking do it. Just walk through it. It might be there might be a lot of things coming up, like scary things, all these reasons why, but how often is it not true? Like, holy fuck.
yeah. It's like you're testing in a way. It's like yeah, the ego mind of like, oh, what are they gonna say or what would that mean? And you do it, and it's like, oh, it wasn't too bad. It's the same thing like you doing it live or like posting a video or going naked in like a grocery store or something. It's just like all right, it's happening.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, it's like it's yeah, it's like all these like psychological impressions, right? Of like, why do we think that way? Like this is not normal. But again, it's just like doing it or like whatever it is, like because I think it is important to like, get that threshold to see that how powerful you really are, like doing something that like you don't want to do or you have like a fear because of whatever it is, judgment or conditioning, and just doing it. It doesn't have to mean like you do it over and over again. I mean, but maybe one thing is enough, or you just keep on doing it. Either way, like it is about like threshold and like reaching it, and only you can gauge it. Like, what is it that you want to do?
Hmm. Yeah, it's not like being a practice. Like, what do you actually wanna do? Like, sit back with that for a minute when it's not easy. It's actually not easy to settle into that because there is so much conditioning around how you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to want, how you're supposed to show up, right? How you're supposed to spend your time or whatever. Mhm. So much, like, we don't even realize that to, like, feel into what you actually wanna do and act on that, like, that's something that takes some.
Yeah, it takes courage, like I think because a lot of times you've been programmed, like you said, like to act a certain way. So just
Mhm.
doing it is like a first step
Yeah.
and really reprogramming our subconscious mind or reprogramming our thoughts or feelings in whatever way, like with hypnosis or something, or subconscious audios, or yeah, creating that imaginal feeling or act kind of thing.
Yeah. Self inquiry even, um, because I think when you kind of we talked about this, like, this alchemical process that can play out internally when you bring up something that's troubling you, let's say, and if you're able to, like, feel the feelings, right, and kinda play that cycle out, sometimes there's, like, right, some tears or a bunch of fear that comes up, like some intense emotion, but you allow it, and it overtakes you, and then on the other side of that is this, like, lightness and an ability to look at this issue essentially in a way that isn't triggering, you know? And it's like, uh, yeah, this ability to hold, truth in a different way where ugh, I forget my point, so I'm just gonna drop it there.
Well, how do you feel? Do you want to wrap this up, or any like topics you want to cover, questions, or
Hmm. Yeah, I would like to ask about, like, your experience with light language and how it comes through, and if you, like yeah, like, what's happening there, and is there a visual aspect? Is there a knowing aspect? Does it seem like there's a message that comes with it? What is that experience?
yeah, for visuals, I mean, it depends. I mean, there's like certain modes, even like there's context. Like okay, there's like adjustment, so my fingers can move, or like my body could be adjusted, or just like feelings of the chakras, energy centers, like being realigned or readjusted. Sometimes there's like code, like it almost seems like symbols, like light language codes. Like you can Google it, or check on Instagram, like how certain light language visually kind of look like. Um, for me, I haven't really had that particular visual. Like for me, my visual is more like galactic ETs, like certain images, like Arcturians, Andromedans, Lyrians, like their image and their like brothers and sisters. Yeshua, Buddha, brother, Saint Germain, like some figure, and then kind of mm, like a feeling. It's kind of hard to explain in that way because it's almost like it feels personal, but it's almost like a translation from from them, like in a way. But it's like me, right? But it becomes like, I mean, right now it feels like adjustment. It's almost like the vibrations being adjusted. So like I don't like the Randy character was trying to like map it out and like, all right, this is what I want to do with it, or like this is what it means, but I can't really say it means anything. It really is just like a tuning or like a calibration kind of thing. And then yeah.
Seems like right, that would be like human mind, applying the human mind onto something that's not human almost is what it
Yeah, it feels like very cosmic, but very like familiar and nostalgic. And again, it's like I think everyone is not to sound like superior, inferior to that stuff, but it's like galactic in that way. But because I feel like everyone, if their intention is there, like everyone is open to it. Like we could channel like what like light language is for them, or like a even channeling like a species, you know, like what bashar does or Adamus does. Like I think those gifts actually are innate. It's just like the conditioning of the human of like this is what a human is. Whatever this is, it's just silly or something. But whatever, it's like it's still perspective and perception. And um, yeah, like you said, it's like the word because it's not really a trend. I don't think it's like transcending or beyond anything, but it's like the human mind is already programmed for a certain way. So it's like it's just releasing those programs, and then it's like naturally like we're all innate to our gifts anyways, and like what's relevant for service to others. So it just kind of comes in. Like I think that's kind of in a way, it's like it's kind of the modern Reiki, maybe is how I like to describe it. Because Reiki was like this Japanese guy was like felt he harnessed some energy and it became more like westernized and just with energy healing in general. But I think light language is more, yeah, I don't know why the word galactic keeps coming, but it's more like galactic and yeah, cosmic, even maybe whatever is accurate. Yeah.
yeah, that would match. I mean, I don't have a direct, like, experience of it that way, but, like, it matches with my other encounters with it, and even, like, well, sometimes people will start, well, they either see light language type stuff or they'll start speaking it and, like, working with it under hypnosis randomly
Yeah.
and, like, describing it, so it yeah, I mean, it seemed like it's part of the like, makeup of the fabric of reality or something, right?
Something like yeah, like a very vibrational or like frequential codes and stuff. The first time I actually experienced it, I didn't really think too much of it. It was like in Mount Shasta, and I was with my ex, and we were just at this workshop. It just was like a pamphlet of like light language, come here at this house, and then experience it. And it was like really like I didn't really think too much about it, and it kind of opened up more like this year or last year, and it was just like it was just a nice feeling. Like I think it helped me like rejuvenate when I first experienced it in Mount Shasta. But who knows? You know, I think there's like some catalyst and like divine orchestration where it's like you're opening to what you need to open to, and then it just becomes like second nature even. Because even yeah, like with or without it, I think they're really it's like it's there's not really a difference in that. I think it's just like part of the expression. So maybe I'm supposed to have it right now and not 8 years ago for a reason. And then yeah, there's a lot of like people who do it their own way, and it feels like every person they do it in their own way. It's like very unique. It's kind of like I don't know, maybe like an instrument or something. Like people play their own way and style. So yeah, with it, I think it's just the intention of it because not everyone's open to it, right? But the people that are open to it, it's just you just create that receiving, like the higher self permission slip of like receiving, and I think that's kind of the the power of it. There's so many modalities that you could have, energy healing with Reiki or just coaching or sound bowls and integrated quantum medicine or like polarity therapy, or you can get a prescription drug, you go to the doctor, healthcare, like who knows? Like not saying like that's better or worse or negative, but I think like language, yeah, it really is more for people that are open to their next step of cosmic awareness or their evolution. And there's been a period where it just comes on really strong and like a lot of stuff happens, but then lately, for me at least, it feels pretty quiet in that way. Like it's less, or maybe it's just happening and I just don't remember. I think because I know,
I was gonna say, is there typically like an intention or like a message that feels associated with it? Or is it just like the urge to express it?
yeah, it almost feels like a recalibration or like noting. So the
Like
intention,
it's doing something for you, like recalibrating as you do it, or the collective, or both?
it feels like both, yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when yeah, like if I get too off course, I think it kind of just like opens me up or like recalibrating. And then there's just times, yeah, there's like a point where it just felt like hours and hours of it and it didn't stop. And I felt like you could lose your, like, I was just like, all right, this is going to be 24/7 or something. But yeah, like I think it kind of comes in and out in waves and stuff. But because it's funny too, right? Like you receive it and sometimes you don't like
Mhm.
receive it in that way. And then some others, they receive it really well. So it's like, I think it just depends on the point. Yeah, I can't really explain it that way. So, but
Yeah.
again, it's just, yeah, it bypasses the human mind or intellect. It's just,
Well, yeah, I think it does. I think, there's just for me with anything, right? There is like this sort of uh I'm all about that like direct experience. And so once that clicks, I don't know if I'm so mm, I am like very intrigued by it. And like I want to have the full experience, and I feel like I'm not getting the full experience because there's not a full like I don't know, like I probably belief because haven't, you know what I mean? There's no reference for this, like no experience of light language in any way, right? But it's like intriguing. It's why I want to do like DMT so bad and then like work with you and see if I can have like an experience of it in some way that's direct, that like is that thing that, sort of is a permission slip or whatever to go from there. Because I
yeah,
noticed just I think how my mind kinda or how my system works.
yeah, like a permission slip. Yeah, Bashar's permission slip was.
Mhm.
It's kind of like, yeah, you may just need that as like an access point. Because it's weird. Like there was an energy healer I used to go to, and I feel like she was really involved with like plant medicine and like ayahuasca. But I think she does see it very visually, and then I think there was some connection to like opening it up in a certain way, and same with like some other light language practitioners. But yeah, like I haven't done ayahuasca or full DMT yet, so it's almost like I don't know, like there's like such a variation. Maybe it's like a direct visceral belief system that you kind of like unlock that part of you, but yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, because you know what I was just thinking is, like, I think part of my, like, design, right, and part of this whole, like, being so experimental is just that I'm sort of meant to go through the world that way, and my experience, like, very grounded and, like, not just taking other people's word for it, it's like knowing for myself, and that has done so much for me, throughout my life because 'cause I've just had to encounter so much. Um, yeah.
Mm. Well, it's almost like evidence, almost like you need experiential evidence for
Yeah,
that. Like you can't really take someone's word until you experience it and synergistically. It's like if you have, received a Reiki session and you receive like the energy or you felt some shift, then sure, like you could say that and
yeah,
feel subjectivity.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Same with psychedelics, right? Like if you haven't had it, then it's almost like, can you really say? But then, the ego could just be like, oh, it's it's scary and it's part of your imagination, so it kind of like blocks that
Right.
whole.
Yeah, like somebody exactly, like, that has a lot to say about psychedelics, yet has never, ever had a direct experience. It's like, I mean, come on. Should you be speaking on that?
Well, it's like very subtle, right? It's just like the unconscious fear. It's like like it's rational to say like, oh, I haven't taken it and I don't want to take it or something. Like sure, that's a choice, but
Oh, yeah, all the yeah, 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 the, like, being blocked from it because mhm. Yeah, well, it's interesting my experience with all the 'cause, like, Reiki, all of that stuff, I actually for being someone that's so sort of balls deep in, like, mysticism, um, I don't seek out I've told you, like, I don't seek out, like, energy healing and things like that, or psychic or, like, none of I really don't, although I do often because yeah, whatever, people I know, whatever, programs I've been in, I have gotten a lot of, like, complimentary or free services, or trades and things like that, and it's like, I'm appreciative and I feel like I'm open, you know what I mean? But I've never had any kind of, like, wild, like, "Oh my god," the kind of experience out of it, so it's like, yeah.
yeah. Well, what seems to be, I mean, you said like maybe DMT was like very visceral and you felt the experience.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can feel, psychedelics, and so, yeah, like, my hope is kind of to take a look at some of that stuff, uh, under the, like, influence of DMT to just get a visual experience. That will be my intention before taking it, is to have a visual of what is happening energetically with this work.
Did you get visuals when you last took it?
Yeah.
So what kind of visuals? Like what do you see?
Well, I don't know what will happen with this, and I'm potentially, I would like to do a lot of experimenting with it in different levels. And again, like I've talked about, there are two different sort of experiences, two different like highs with DMT, where it's like you have one that's pretty mild and both only last for about 10-15 minutes, maybe 20. Um, but yeah, you can take a smaller amount, and my experience with that was just that it was like, be on acid or something like that, like patterns and just a little colorful and trippy kind of stuff like that. But supposedly people work with it in that state with and can do like psychic readings, tap in to their guides, possibly see. That's kind of actually the space that I would like to attempt to see if I could see anything uh, that you're doing. It's the only space that I expect to be able to like have some agency and like work with the three-dimensional world, because if you have a breakthrough high, I always call it a blast off high, but the standard, what is to say a breakthrough high. And that is like going through a portal to another dimension. You're gone. So I don't know how I would like, there's a good chance that I would not see you. I might be able to like, yeah, I don't know what would be possible. So from there.
So do you see like sacred geometries like on your DMT trip and visually?
Yes, very common to see sacred geometry. Um, oh yeah, I can explain like there was the first time I ever did DMT when I was like 20, and that one it was like I smoked it, and um yeah, by the time it actually, that's funny, I forgot how I used to see it, but it reminded me of taking Whip It, where it's like a wall, 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 like the whole space around you just goes boom, and it was like as I was like uh laying back, because um my friend that I was doing it with told me like hit it as much as you can. It's gonna be gross, but just as much as you can and then lay back. So, and then I remember it just hitting like that intense, like wah wah feeling, and just being like, okay, like I need to lay back. And then before I could even like lay down, I was like, the experience was like I was just shooting through a actual wormhole. And it was so fucking intense. I remember going to lay down and thinking like, "I'm going to lose my fucking mind." Like, fuck. And then it was like and it was so, I'm telling you, it was like a lot. Felt like it was going on, like you're passing through a lot. And then whoop, and then that's where I was like in this weird, like very geometric open space, but there was, like, very much like a dreamland where it's, like, the the it was very, very clear, very, very vivid, but, like, the mechanics of the space did not make sense, like the three-dimensional world, so that's where, like, I ran into the guy that was, like, a praying mantis alien guy.
Cute.
And he really was, like, walking by, and he's like and I was like
Sorry.
I was like, "Oh, shit." But he had a suitcase.
Yes.
He had a suitcase, and then it was sort of, like, green, it was, like, very dark, but there was, like, neon greenish lighting kind of here and there, but then he kinda, like, went off, like, he was doing something on his way somewhere, like, he was commuting or something, and I was just, like, in this in-between space that I, like, popped into accidentally or something, and then he was, like, leaving, but then I see that over there, it was like Pac-Man, like, he went over here, and then I see him, like, poke out from over on this side. Like, he left over there, and then he just go then, like, walked by again, and then, like, left on this side to, like, disappear on this side of the screen, and then it was, like, I, like, warped into a different space, gone from there, and, like, came to in the arms of it was like I was in the arms of some being,
Mm,
sort of almost like it was a physical yet spiritual-ish thing in nature. I have no idea what it was, and I was like my eyes were closed almost, and I was like being held and comforted and almost fed. It was like milk. I remember describing this way and feeling like it was as if my blood was made of milk, and this was all just flowing through me, almost like nurturing and healing me. And as I was being, like, held and rocked, there were all these little hands. There was, like, all these, like, like, they were so excited, like, to touch me, like, you know, and I
very
could feel them, almost like children or something, or people,
okay. Sweet.
but I could feel hands, like, reach like, excited to touch me, that I was there, you know?
They're
And
like,
then
yay! Like you're on your trip, or like, yay, Leah's here, kind of like giving you high fives or something.
I don't know. I don't really know. I don't really know, but it was a lot of hands, you know, and then just, like, being
We feel like nourished, kind of like a
yeah,
loving.
I felt like I was being nourished. The hands were, like, sort of overwhelming, like, "What the fuck is going on?" Yeah, but I was like, "Okay." But I was, like, felt totally, like, calm and everything, and there was a sort of similar experience the more recent time that I did DMT as I was more like as it was starting to come out of, like, the real intensity of it, um, I could feel several hands patting my body and, like, down my legs, but this was very much like, they're there. It was just, like, comforting, like,
Was it
you know,
like human hands, or is it like? Did it
it felt like human I mean, the sort of felt I mean, it could've been anything, you know what I mean, but it felt like human hands, yeah.
mm,
Or like just a like, individual little pressures of, like but about that size of a hand.
mm.
I was, like, trembling, "Oh, shit, that's okay."
Goosebumps, like
It was comforting, actually. Huh?
goosebumps, like just so much
It
visceral.
just was it was just so weird to feel it, you know? It was just a trip, like, to physically I don't know, it's just so different than any other psychedelic.
Did it feel like you're having a dream, kind of like a lucid dream, or is that completely different?
Feels It's the reason there's a reason why everybody that does it comes back and just they have a hard time making like, rationalizing it, or sort of making sense of it or describing it, and they'll say things like, "It's real," you know? "It's more real than this reality." Things like that, because no, it feels real, it's happening, like, and you know it.
Yeah, I like that bold statement. It feels more real than this reality.
Yeah.
True. That's it. Nostalgic, maybe, or another dimension. Maybe it's like more like a dimension that you're really used to. Maybe this is the dimension we're not used to. You know, or density that we're not used to.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's possibly where you know, are more existing, uh, as, like, a soul being or something, possibly,
Yeah.
uh
Well, did we have this conversation before of like the bandwidth of like like you're just open to more dimensions like as your natural state. I think it was like talking to you about it or someone else, but
I think we were talking about it.
yeah, like the bandwidth is just like the third dimension of Earth or something is it's just less you're just less of you. So it's like a
Right.
filter. The veil of it is just very earthy and 3D and density of consciousness. But then if you're on a psychedelic, it maybe opens that bandwidth, so you could like perceive more of yourself, dimensions, parallels, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like you were saying, like, you are like the little pinky of your whole oversoul or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, like one part of it,
Mhm.
one finger, one finger of the hand. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny? What I was just thinking of is I remember, this TikTok that, or some video. I feel like somebody made a really good animation to go with this story that kinda went viral of somebody's experience on DMT, and maybe it was, like, a comedian that was telling this story. I don't know. I feel like you could easily find this online. But this guy does DMT, and there's, like, the other side, like, this female being, and she's, like, purple or whatever, I don't know. She's, like, like an actual, like, creature, and, it's, like, his lover, clearly, and she's, like, very upset with him that he has, like, a girlfriend or whatever in his human experience, and she's all, like, jealous, and then every time that he would do DMT, he would run into, like, this girlfriend, like, he has a DMT, like, lover girlfriend. I don't know, it's just
It's like a thought, romantic thought form. Like as soon as you take DMT, like she comes back.
well, she's, like, just a being that in that dimension, they're together,
Right. So it's like a twin flame kind of thing.
right? Something. I don't know, well, flame is so loaded, it's like, ugh, it's so makes me cringe so hard, but I think there's something to it, but my god, has that not been used in a really weird way on the internet, you know?
Yeah. Like back in the, I guess like new age uh fascination I had, it was like I never really resonated with it and almost felt like a cop out. Like you have a
Mhm,
twin flame. And
mhm.
like had friends that were like really into that and they believed that they had a twin flame, but it's like in another dimension and they're on Earth and but they haven't met yet. So it's like I mean for me, I was pretty skeptical. I was like, I don't know about that. And I just like, all right, whatever, you have that um belief and respect that. But me being like this asshole, like I felt like an asshole,
I don't think so.
like yeah, so it's almost like soulmates and that stuff. It almost feels like I don't. Yeah, it's almost like I don't. I feel like like yes and no. Like you could have a soulmate, maybe with parallel lives, and maybe there's like attraction or romance with that, or maybe like you have past lives with it. But never felt like it felt like almost like a distraction. Like I shouldn't be worried about that or listen to that. So yeah, like that's kind of my take with like twin flames and uh yeah, soulmates. It just feels like sure, yes or no, but it didn't feel like a direction I wanted to like be fascinated about.
I think that's good and healthy, and I think that, like, yeah, if that's, like, a focus of your spiritual journey, probably, you know, some self-inquiry could be helpful because as far as I can tell, I think there's maybe some truth to it, right? And then there's things that, like, I have not explored the subject of twin flames or soulmates, um, under hypnosis, but I have listened to other like, my teacher had a little, you know,
How did
focus.
it
Huh? No, my hypnosis teacher. My hypnosis teacher had a little interest in twin flames, so I've seen her interview higher selves around that topic and stuff, and I'll say, like, to me, it seems to me that there's some truth to it, but that it's probably not more and I think that, well, I have, like, shared even the video that resonates more so the way that I think about it. I think that it's like, um yeah, not so much about, uh it's more just like a mirror, right? That resonates more as this sort of like reflection, and there are probably many like soulmates, right? And people that you're twinning, having a
Like a
twin.
third mind. I like how I mean, there's like a definition where
Oh,
you mentioned it's just like, all right, what's the whole objective is just like the third energy or the third mind of like the joining of male, female. I mean, kind of reminds me of that Alex Gray art where it's just like, yeah, the male, divine female, and then the baby, and they're all like interweaved, and it's like Earth, Sun, Moon kind of stuff, and like very colorful.
yeah, so it does resonate to me that, like, say, okay, if there is an opportunity for, like, a twin flame interaction, what resonates more is this purpose of meeting together, and it doesn't have to be romantic, but it can be, and so that there are different ways to come together energetically, that it's sort of, yeah, about birthing something, right? So it's like these energies coming together and like activating. I think there's just like activations energetically that are meant to happen, and then a creation of a third, right, thought form energy, something that takes form and has, right, some mm, sort of guidance with it and protect, it could be used, say,
Yeah.
into.
What comes to mind was like there's like a Tom Kenyon book. A few females recommended it. It was like on Mary Magdalene, and it's like talking about like just the nesting of the divine male and divine female, and then just like the nesting of that energy, the sacred sexual energy, the sacred energy, and that kind of makes more sense with like what we're going through now, like the magnetism, and then like the sacred union of that, like it being intentional and even like visceral or energetic, emotional, that it produces a like a like a flowering effect or like a magnetism that grows for and it benefits like everybody, like it benefits humanity instead of like just like simple masturbation or just like regular sex for pleasure. It just feels like there's more of a intention of maybe that's how the ancients thought of like the like Egyptian alchemists of like making an attempt like there's like a magnetism in their inner fields to like go through it in a certain way, not just like how we're conditioned right now of like thinking about sex or affection. It's like there's more energy, like quote unquote energy to it.
Yeah, well, I think that there's ultimately more of like just balancing these energies that have a history of being at war with each other, right? So opportunities to heal that and work together in harmony to build something higher, right? So that's the idea. Something, right? You take these two opposing forces or opposites of a pole and bring them together to form something higher.
Mm. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's like the harmonic or something. It's just like the sum of all parts kind of thing. Just like the energy of it,
Mhm. Yeah.
not just myself or my selfish needs or some my other or my partner's needs, but it's just like
Something greater, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I guess merging the two spheres. Mm. That'd be interesting. Yeah. When do you feel like you're gonna get that DMT session and then you're gonna activate these little
Well, I mean, with the DMT, I haven't heard my friend Daniel's son said he was gonna send it, and then I haven't heard anything about it since then, which makes me wonder if he feels sketched out about, like, sending it, which is understandable, you know? Um, so I'm kind of thinking that maybe I should just go ahead and order that, like, blunt tip syringe or whatever that somebody suggested as a way to, like, melt the other DMT to get it out of the cartridge.
Oh, okay, so it's pretty legal and like self-explanatory.
No. Well, no, somebody just said, like, if I were I don't know, like, first of all, no, definitely not legal,
Oh,
um, but just that I happen to have some in a cartridge. Well,
nice.
yeah, for hair living. Once upon in another dimension.
The dimension where all of this is
Yeah,
innocent and
another
legal.
dimension where
Next
where
year.
the version of Leah.
Okay, I'm actually in a way I'm kind of glad we're talking about this too, because like yeah, like, there's a fear, subtle fears of like jail system or like incarcerated or not really being killed. I think that's kind of like transition, but something with time. Like if you're in jail, you have the legal system and then certain rules to be like prosecuted in that way. And I think it is kind of healthy to kind of go into that really. But it's almost like it's the same thing. It's like if you fear, you're more kind of inclined to get into certain, if you are getting in trouble. But even that's like a manifestation of the mind of like if any fear, then the worst can happen. But then you shouldn't be afraid of that because there could be a divine or it is part of
Well,
your character design or something.
yeah, well, also just, like, for me, what it's kind of always boiled down to is, like, with anything straight up, because ultimately, I've been, like, rebellious since I was young, right? So that's just standard for me to be there. So I never give a fuck about it's legal, not legal. That is somebody else's fucking definition. But I understand that there is a legal system that you're taking risks with if you take certain actions, you're gambling, there's a risk you're taking, right? And so it's always boiled down to like, is that risk worth it to me? Like, is it worth it to me to have that experience? A lot of time at the end of the day, like for me, yeah, fuck yeah, because fuck you. You're not gonna tell me how to live my life, bitch. Fuck you. And it's worked out for me for the most part. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Uh, but that's for everybody to decide for themselves. Like, how much do you want to let somebody else decide for you? Like, how you can experience your life. And definitely when it comes to like what I put into my body, like that's not the government or any authority figure's fucking business. So that's not my concern, period. Like
Yeah.
and I've been around it enough to but I also here's the other thing is I have so much experience in this world and around that type of stuff that I have a lot of discernment around it as well. I have street smarts. So, I don't feel like I'm stupid about it either. And then there are levels, like psychedelics are not, you know, at this point in this country, psychedelics are not a um priority for, drug enforcement. Now, will that change? I would have no doubts, actually, that might be on the horizon, but, currently, where we're at in California I'm not
That-
worried.
That's good to know too, because I mean, like I kind of wonder too. A lot of podcasts, like Joe Rogan or something, they could talk a lot about psychedelics and DMT or like cocaine or something, or like something that's like a Schedule 1 drug. But then, yeah, like I mean, they did their due diligence of like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with talking about it, or even in a certain way, people probably have experiences with it, so they do it and then they share it, and then maybe that's valuable for the audience or something. But
It's not even a lot of time, it's not even illegal to be under the influence, so, like, if you go up to a cop and you say, "I'm high as shit right now," they're not gonna arrest you. They're like, "Okay, be careful, as long as you don't have it on you." So it's not
yeah,
illegal to be high, it's not illegal to talk about your experience being high. Just don't be selling drugs and you're good.
right. So it's like
But
it's almost more of a crime to sell it than to actually take it, right? That kind of makes sense, right?
yeah, well, it's definitely a different crime to sell it. It's a crime to be in possession of it.
Interesting. So you could just talk it hypothetically, like if I had this in my right pocket or something, and then like you would
Well,
be,
so you could not have it on your person. It could be gone, right? Because 'Cause you've consumed it all. And
yeah, oh, I see.
and then you can walk into a police station and you could say, "I am high off my rocker on XYZ," doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
It's all gone because I consumed all of it. It's coursing through my veins right now.
And they can't give you like a blood, like a test, like I suspect you're on drugs, and then like
The
what?
test wouldn't matter if they found that you were on drugs, that's not a crime.
Hmm. If you're in Singapore, you probably have a test.
I know, don't I have 0 clue, right, internationally. So every country and but also every state also has its own, and the United States has its own laws, but, yeah, it's so actually and so I'm, also speaking about California, there's a possibility that there are other states where you could get locked up for being intoxicated.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, as a Course in Miracles spirit love, but I don't know. Maybe that's can't apply it. Who knows? Yeah, drugs. I mean, that's kind of the thing, like a touching point with it. I think it's a good thing, like drugs or yeah, like sex or pornography. That stuff. It's just like certain impressions that want to be released, not feeling guilt of any of that, or but not just kind of saying that, but there is like some value energetically because again, yeah, they're coming back to like you for me at least, like there's like a fear of getting in trouble for some reason, like getting in trouble for doing something or having a certain thought or emotion, and then it kind of like plays back. Like if I'm with family at a certain day or talking to someone, it's like that somehow is like gonna ruin a conversation or like the the other will perceive me a certain way, but
Mhm.
kind of like,
Well, and for me, what can be comforting or, like, help put that into perspective is, like things like that is, like, everybody has their own experience and conditioning, especially around taboo things, right? And, if you, right, want to live an awakened lifestyle, one, you're gonna have to just come to terms with not agreeing with the crowd, the masses, right? Going against the masses because the masses are just, right, blind. So, you certainly don't wanna be pinging off of them for all your references for what's good and bad, right and wrong, okay? don't bother. That's right off the bat, that's a trap. Um, but regardless, everybody has their own experience and perspective, right? We talk about reality tunnels and how your everybody has their own reality tunnel that they're creating and building, and it's built based off of all of your experiences that from birth, all of the impressions that you've received from all of your experiences that just make up your ideas about what's right and wrong. And it comes from, parents, school, society, culture, yada, yada, yada. Um, so other people are going to have their ideas about things, and a lot of their ideas are just going to be picked up from these typical programs. But you could always keep in mind that, like, there are other people, though, outside of this bubble, let's say, that have a view and experience and perspective of this that is, like, totally chill, not judgmental, happy, okay with this, sees no problem, you know? That's true for others. Why can't it be true for me? Why am I holding on to seeing it this way instead of this way?
Yeah.
Where's your problem?
Yeah, it's like not really, yeah, coming back to self-love, it's like not like seeing it's okay for them, but not seeing it for yourself. It's like it's pretty ridiculous, but yeah, like that's kind of a lot of the patterns and makeup of the awakening process, or like if you're a light worker, sourcey kind of stuff. It's just like you can really be empathetic about another and like love them, accept them, but you can't like love, accept, or respect yourself for whatever reason. Like having those high expectations or like ridiculous expectations that you can never really meet because it's societal or cultural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, uh what a tool, what a gift, what a blessing to, like, just come to terms with, like, okay, there's you know what I mean? Like, I can see this differently than others, and, like, be okay with that, and, like, even if I'm the only one, that's cool. I also don't have to change others, like, I can that's nice too, and you can just say, like, "I get it, actually, like, I'm pretty I see this, but, I can understand why others are perceiving it this way," you know? Does make sense to me how they're coming to that conclusion, but I have my conclusion, and that's that.
Be right back. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. We'll just keep it chill.
Mhm.
All right. Cool. Feeling like any other topics in your presence, in your heart?
Mm. I mean, nothing's coming to the forefront. That was fun, though. You know, just whatever topics
Yeah,
roll
it
through.
doesn't feel complete though yet. What about you?
Yeah, I'm good to go. Keep going. Go. My coffee.
Nice. Yeah, I got some Celsius and next time Chardonnay, wine, maybe some joints next time. Second time.
Is that what you're drinking? Is Chardonnay?
This is a little, yeah, Chardonnay. Got at H Mart.
Mm.
And then could have some soju. Or I did get some soju earlier, but I didn't. I drank a little bit with that. But
I think I have to hit this off the camera.
what do you mean?
Babe.
Oh, there's a rule for that.
I think typically for streams, yeah. So I'll just be over here.
Yeah. Okay, I know it's all. Okay, so we're talking about like AI and Adobe Photoshop or any other app that has like generative fills with generative AI, and it's like pretty exciting, right? Like the video I sent you, it could be like very real. Like you can't really tell at this point like what's real or what's just AI, and that's very exciting because I think you can really create some interesting movies, like movies or short clips, like short movies. Um, yeah. Any explorations or inspirations from, I guess, like your creative flow?
Well, it's funny that it's funny to hear somebody's first reaction to that be that it's exciting. Almost
Yeah,
called
like look at the yeah, there's like a stream of stuff that's been coming out, and I don't even have to post that on Instagram yet or YouTube or social media, but it's just like a play, just like experiencing. That's why I'm excited. It's just like there's like no cap.
Well, it's beautiful. I mean, it's a nice example too of like perspective and like seeing it from different perspectives. But like the prospect of truly being pretty much at the point where you cannot distinguish between AI and a real video. Now, there's still obvious AI videos all over the place, right? But there are now definitely videos out there that you would not, right? Without context, nothing to tell you that is not real. Yeah. Which opens the door for, like, so much fuckery. But it also, yes, opens the door for something like right? Like, your everyday average person being able to, like, create little short films that are, like, yeah, real.
Yeah, it's like you still have to go through it. Like I think it does kind of level the playing field in a way, but also like you can just be more intentional with what you want to present. And I think the quality barrier like has increased. So it's like, yeah, like the really like there's no pressure. Like you still have fun with it, but I think there's also like the weight has been lifted. It's like you don't have to spend the hours to learn it unless you want to learn a certain skill or like program. But yeah, like AI does really help. Like if you have an idea that's strong enough or story or whatever, you can really just present it in a way that you want to present it. And it doesn't have to be like you're on like a Hollywood music production or Hollywood movie production. Like you could do it your own way.
Well, you know what? Sorry, actually, just give me 1 sec. I'm just plugging in my computer so it doesn't die. Actually, what I'm really excited to see is, yeah, what type of stuff will come from certain populations that haven't had access to tools that have brought their like creativity to the spotlight, let's say. So, really like impoverished communities. But right, there's so much like life and creativity there and like so much that could probably be expressed and wants to be expressed from there. And then like, boom, all you need is a phone and the internet.
Oh
So,
yeah. Well, like on Canva, they have like a lot of stock photos, and there's this one guy. I think he's like from Malaysia, and he uses a lot of like great photos, and like that's how he gets his work out like, through Pixabay or Canva. And I think there's just an opportunity. Like you don't have to like live in the Western world. Like you can like
mhm.
I think it really it's like if your talent and gifts are like translated, like you could really just create and post, and then it'll be found by the ones who were meant
Well,
to.
think about what this though. Soon, you know, yeah, living in the Western world will not mean shit, right? One, it's crumbling, it's falling. Two, yeah, like art, when everybody has access and can like put out great material. And, other countries are putting out great films now that the rest of the world is paying attention to, for example, you know, like Asian films and mm, actually all over the world.
Mhm.
Indian. Mm.
Yeah, you don't need like a Hollywood budget for sure.
Well, not only that is Hollywood doesn't have the budget that it used to have either. And other countries, Saudi Arabia, uh, China's making insanely like produced films.
Yeah, I mean, it's like like the idea and the storytelling, and AI is really gonna like help with the independent filmmaker kind of stuff. There's just so much like there's so much variety, and I think it's like more important to be focused and like aligned with your integrity, aligned with your gifts, and like what you really want to create is more important than ever. Because like literally, you just go on YouTube and then just like you get caught up in the storm of like or TikTok, like just
Mm.
finding out everyone else's entertainment or like their point of view kind of thing. It's weird, right? Like more than ever, you could just post something, right? And that's kind of like you can do that, like, and simultaneously, there's all this channels and stuff and people, but also there's also just like enjoying people's presence or something, or like going. You don't have to connect with your neighbors or anything, but just like the people, like just feeling connected. Because I feel like people can get connected more to the digital self, and then their actual like local community is it's like it's hard. It's like
Yeah.
there's less of a connection.
I'm seeing, yeah, I think more and more that's the case is like, I see that with TikTok is that you see a lot of people that seem to be like opening up to like strangers and there's, like, this authenticity and kind of connection that people are experiencing there, which is beautiful, but then it's not really, like, carrying over to life, and then I noticed that I feel like on YouTube too, like, you can cultivate this, way to, like, connect with your audience,
Mhm.
but are you doing that in your life, you know?
Yeah, it's like it's hard to see it as, like, equal. Like, you could be really good digitally and, like, on YouTube or something, or TikTok, and then maybe have, like, really shitty local relationships, or feel like an alien, like, feel isolated locally.
Mhm.
So it's almost like, in a way, it's a trade-off, but not really. Like, I mean, like, ideally, right, you wanna, like, be good in both the local and digital, but maybe that's just like a mental duality, like saying that there is a difference. And in essence, there could be a difference. Like people could be like really introverted. Like if you're a high school student and it's just like your whole world is like on the phone, like on the social media, and like maybe your friends are a little different.
I don't know, I think it's probably something to look at. I think that if that were happening in my experience, I'd wanna ask myself why, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, maybe this is just a belief too, but I feel like a lot of my online friends aren't in LA, you know what I mean? Like, it just feels like it's harder to reconnect. Like, yes, you could connect to your high school friends or college friends, um, or work friends or whatnot, or family, but it just doesn't have the same, like, trust or same conscious level. You can still enjoy it, but then it's like you still wanna always connect back to a certain, like, level in that way. Like, there's, like, healthy boundaries, I feel like.
Yeah, well, and I think the chances that your kinda, like, soul tribe is, like, the people that you grew up with or, like, the family that you were born into, probably unlikely. I think a lot of the human journey experience is, like, starting somewhere, right? And finding your way, making your own way outside of that. Sometimes there's exceptions to that. Sometimes it's, maybe about a really tight family experience, whatever, but for the most part, it really seems like you're meant to, like, come to yourself despite all of everybody else's, conditioning, but, mm,
Yeah, like, again, finding yourself, like, no matter what that looks like. Like, there most people aren't supposed to know what that is. Like, only you really know, like, what that is and how it feels.
mhm. What were we talking about before that? Or what what were we just talking about?
Something with, like, social media versus, like, local relationship.
Oh, yeah. Yes. But, yeah, I think there's something, though, that's what I wanna say. There's a difference between, you know, just being like a character, right? Or a content creator and engaging your audience and connecting with them, and then having relationships, like intimate, close relationships with people through, and meeting with them online, or connecting with them online. I think that's different, right? One's like a really like a true back and forth, and if that's like how you're having authentic connection, with someone and how you're able to have true intimacy is through, like, an online or whatever distance engagement in some way with another person. I don't see anything wrong with that at all. Like, I think that's yeah, definitely so helpful. Doesn't seem to me yeah, to me, that would be like, okay, you have good that would read to me as I have positive relationships with people that I'm close with. Now, if somebody didn't have any positive relationships in their life, right? Anybody that they're close with, but things were going well online, and everything appeared great online, then I'd wanna go, what's going on here?"
So a question kind of popped up of like, is the visual like does the avatar, does the character, does it actually matter? Like if you just heard my voice and we had like a connection relationship that way, like would that actually provide the needs of someone? Because for me, it almost feels like yes, and like I think I have relationships where I've never seen a person's face, but we have like really good conversations and stuff.
Mhm.
Never met in person, but there is like comfort in knowing the person or like the visual or the avatar, the character. Um, but I think you could still survive and even like still evolve your consciousness without ever like visually seeing. Because I have a friend that actually is blind, and then it's kind of like kind of see it from his view. It's almost like uh, a benefit. Like he doesn't see a lot of the visual stuff that most people kind of like fixate on. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Well, this is the whole premise of the reality dating show, Love is Blind, on Netflix, and they date through pods. It's like, they literally, like, have dates where they cannot see each other, but they can speak through it, and these people, like, swear up and down that it's just like they fall in love,
mm,
and they propose from there. I think the show has gone on to be, like, ridiculous, and people just sign up because they wanna be famous, but, earlier on, it did appear that people were genuinely, yeah, like, falling in love through a wall.
mm. Yeah, so it feels like it's just each their own. It's like you can have that if you want that.
Yeah.
It's yeah, just a lot of variation in flavors. Just like if you have certain computer games, like you could get into that, but there's just so many. Like go to Netflix, you can watch a lot of TV shows or. But Friends is different. I feel like there is like a certain like it gets like criteria, the criteria that gets like more like you just don't want to feel flaked out or like the communication is understood or something. So in a way, like friends and like partners or whatever, like like the tribe you kind of connect with or something is even more important in that way. I mean, again, it evolves just like the person evolves, but
Well, it's a really beautiful experience to, like, actually and it's not easy, but to let go of some of the relationships that, like, historically did not work out and did not feel good, and then to, like, allow, and work towards, put yourself at risk, right? And like, right? Because it's been forming new bonds and friendships and yeah, like a new family, right? Where it's like, okay, what is my sure like tribe or who do I really like resonate with in this world? Mm, who gets me and I get them? Mm, that's a cool process and experience in itself.
Hmm. Yeah, but it's like all the inner work you've done, like I still think about, you know, my ex or like my first kiss or something, or like the first girl I talked to or something, or like the first like breakup or fucked upness. Like it just feels like it's still a cycle of stuff. It's like I kind of like accept that more and more of like it doesn't really matter what the story is. It just feels like you just kind of go on. Like you have to. It's like it becomes very excruciating if you just keep on thinking of the same stuff and like you're just holding on to the past. It's like just like going into a mode. So it's like yeah, like I do value like new stuff and that kind of flowering of like something new. But it does take time and effort. It's like I think I could easily be like, fuck this and like fuck this person or like you're not vibing or something or
Well, it's like an exploration, you know, and not like part of, I don't know, really like being on a little adventure is like you don't know how it's all gonna play out, and you don't wanna hold on to expectations. And there's yeah, it's like, um, the difficulties that come up can be seen as challenges, or sometimes you people I don't know, kinda like a playground for all types of growth. That's what
yeah.
I yeah.
Mm. It's like having a fun, playful mindset because yeah, the seriousness or the drama can just be another loop. Really allow yourself to evolve. All right. Well, I don't know how you feel. Like, do you like maybe it's a close?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks forever. Yeah, thanks forever. And thank you.
Forever and ever.
Thank you for all whoever's receiving this and trust your higher self activations and um, your website. I think the Linktree link if you want to connect with her. My website's randyson.com and just connecting into hopefully yeah. I think this was fun. I think I'm open to just doing more of these lives and collabs and yeah, just trusting spirit guides you and higher self activations and having fun today.
Yeah, no, same though. Like, we're hanging out and we just always go into these conversations anyway, like
Yeah.
literally, right? So might as well just pop on the camera and hang out. Like,
Yeah. And then again, if anyone has any questions or anything, just like we can always connect on that level. It always kind of stimulates something, so it's almost a fun experience. And I think I'm starting out Twitch, and it's been an interesting experience on Restream, and it's been fun. So yeah, like might as well like have a live with this because we usually do this anyway. So it's like why not try this endeavor? Cool. Pieces, deuces. Love you all.
this
Peace.